Amongst rugged mountain peaks, the distant echoes of Celtic kings dance among the shadows of ancient druids. Wales, the land of the unknown, the land of conquest and resistance. Beyond the horizon, the deep rumble of a baritone choir echoes tales of ancient kings fighting for the nation's survival. A tale of hope, a tale of rebellion, a tale that rolls through the valleys like a warm embrace of a dragon's breath. A pretty badass dragon too, have you seen it on the flag over years? Fucking marvellous, innit? The home of greats like Sir Anthony Hopkins, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and of course, the guy from The Kingsman. Ah, see, you didn't know that guy was Welsh, did you? Yeah, there you go. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's get to the point, shall we? And yes, as you may have noticed, I'm representing my beloved Welsh nation here with a Welsh rugby shirt, seeing as it is, of course, Six Nations rugby season. Come on, you Reds. But in all seriousness, Wales is a land of folktales and legends that would put Rowling and Tolkien to shame. Claims of King Arthur himself placing his round table in the south of Wales still exist to this day, and may very well be true. Yet few can compete with the incredible tale of the Welsh Red Dragon defeating that utter bastard of a white dragon from England. Fucking yes, boy! Myths and tales flow freer than the waters of the Menai Strait, many of which will have been lost to the pages of history. But there is one tale that stands way above the others. It's a tale known by every man, woman and child lucky enough to have Welsh blood coursing through their veins. And that is why you're here today. It's time for you to learn the story of Gelert, Wales's greatest folktale. Before we get into that, we first have to dive into the mythical heartland of Eryri National Park, not Snowdonia, which stretches across almost the entirety of northwest Wales. Nestled deep in the valleys sits the humble little village of Beddgelert. It's pretty much exactly what you envision a typical country village to be like. Cobbled streets wind their way among stone cottages and slate-roofed local taverns. The silence of these picture-perfect views is only broken by the gentle trickling of a babbling brook running alongside the village edge. Despite its incredibly humble nature, it has a history that far predates civilization itself, far beyond the comprehension of our brothers in arms across the Atlantic. Wales is a nation which has evolved through the influence of invading parties and the ruling royalty at the time. So to avoid this turning into some sort of armchair history lecture, I'll try to keep it brief. After the Romans left Britain in 410 AD, the native Britons were left to fend for themselves. These Britons were in fact Celtic Britons, related in part to the Celtic cultures that once ruled Europe. Those remaining Celts on the British mainland soon found themselves under attack from invading parties, the Anglo-Saxons. This cultural group, of course, are the ancestors to the beloved English race. So who exactly are the illegal immigrants here, the Tommy Robinson, you fucking UK-blowing bastard? The remaining Celts were forced to withstand succeeding waves of raiders from the north and east, forcing them to retreat further west to the lands of Ireland and Wales, and further north towards the Scottish Highlands. It's for that reason why Ireland, Scotland and Wales consider themselves true brothers in arms, as we are all part of the same Celtic heritage and culture, while the English are the odd man out on this one. Same old story, right? Fast forward to the Middle Ages and Wales finds itself in a tumultuous period of history. At that time, Wales was divided into a series of kingdoms, each ruled by a separate king or prince. The rulers left their permanent mark on the region by building a number of castles, of which many still stand today, including Harlech Castle, Criceth Castle and Castell Cabere. Around this time, intense warfare persisted between the kingdoms of England and Wales that led to consistent border changes and a changing line of men to bow down to. Many of England's greatest rulers saw Wales as their prized target and would rest at nothing to ensure that they would conquer every inch. That included Edward I, you know, Edward Longshanks, the same bastard that chopped Mel Gibson in half and declared prima nocta on the whole village. Well, that utter bastard built his own series of military castles all across the northwest. And what really pisses me off about that is they happen to be some of our most beautiful castles. Of course they have to be. Such as Beaumaris and Caernarfon. By the 13th century, the kingdoms of Wales were more or less set in place. The majority of Wales was ruled by a man called Llywelyn ap Iorwerth, or Llywelyn the Great for you non-Welsh speaking peasants out there, or Llywelyn as most outsiders call it. Jesus Christ. Anyway, by this point in history, he controlled all but a few regions of Wales under the Kingdom of Gwynedd that encompassed the entirety of the northwest of the country as well as the centre. He was the last true king, that's right, king of Wales, not that big-eared, sausage-fingered bastard, I tell you, because it's that man, our noblest of rulers, Llywelyn ap Iorwerth, that our tale is revolved around today, or more importantly, someone very close to him. Gather round, children, gather round as we're about to delve into the pages of Welsh folklore as we discover the greatest Welsh folktale of them all, one of honour, tragedy and unconditional loyalty. In the 13th century, Llywelyn ap Iorwerth lived in a castle close to Beddgelert alongside his family, newborn child and his faithful companion, Gelert, his beloved Irish wolfhound. Gelert was renowned for his bravery and loyalty to his master. Together they explored the wilderness, hunting animals that roamed the surrounding meadows. One fateful day, Llywelyn prepared for a rigorous day of hunting with his comrades. As he left the castle for that day, he entrusted the care of his newborn son to Gelert's watchful eyes, secure in the knowledge that he would be completely safe. But destiny had other plans. Upon his return, Llywelyn was greeted by a scene of total devastation. A blood-soaked crib and blankets lay strewn across the floor, and no sign of his cherished son. Panic gripped Llywelyn, and in that moment, total despair, as he saw Gelert's jaws dripping with blood. Betrayed by his closest companion. Blinded by grief and rage, Llywelyn drew his sword and plunged it deep into the side of his once faithful hound. Gelert's dying yell was answered by a faint cry. Rushing to the source, Llywelyn discovered his son laying amongst the fallen blankets, completely unharmed, laying beside the bloody corpse of a slain wolf. Regret swept over Llywelyn as he realized Gelert had in fact sacrificed himself to protect Llywelyn's own blood and soul. His last act on this earth was putting the well-being of his master and his son before his own. It's said that Llywelyn never smiled following that fateful day. Overcome with sorrow, Llywelyn buried his loyal friend with honours in a meadow near the river in a town which now beholds his honourable dog's name, Beddgelert, or Gelert's grave. It may be greater than the tragedy of Marley and me, Mufasa dying, and the Brexit shit show, but did it really happen? Well, probably not, and actually not probably, it definitely didn't happen, we know that for a fact. The grave was actually built in the late 18th century by a man called David Pritchard, who happened to own a hotel in the village. Coincidentally, of course, so he cleverly worked off pre-existing mythology and sort of reinvented and readjusted some of the facts to fit into the narrative of it all happening here in the village of Beddgelert. So in what was a clear attempt at trying to attract more tourists, kind of worked. It's no Cabo or Bangkok, of course, but this obscure little village in the heart of Wales' sheep country suddenly was the spiritual home of the country's greatest folktale. Even if it's nothing more than a fairy tale, who cares? As far as the people of Wales are concerned, Beddgelert is and always will be the spiritual home of this classic folktale. The tale will continue to live, much like the town that surrounds its fictitious grave. It's a tale of honour, tragedy and loyalty. A tale of a good old boy who served his master to the very end. Rest in peace, mighty Gelert.